These were Christine Brown's first words on the stand, speaking softly but slicing through the quiet like a knife. Everyone leaned in. No cameras in court, but every seat was taken. Journalists scribbled. Online viewers tracked each leaked update. And at the center of it all sat Kody Brown, the one-time proud patriarch of TLC's Sister Wives. He wasn't the Kody of the show. His shoulders were slumped. His suit was rumpled. The confidence that was once his lost. He wasn't a leader of a large, beautiful polygamist family anymore. He was the defendant at a courtroom full of women who used to refer to him as husband. Meri Brown sat to Christine's left, her face cold and blank. Her hands were clasped tightly in her lap, but her knuckles were white. Janelle Brown sat to Christine's right, grinding her teeth, with her lawyer muttering in her ear. And at the back of the room, Robyn Brown, the lone wife to remain, sat quietly, arms folded, red eyes. Some described her as wanting to weep, others as seeing Kody for who he really was. This was not merely a divorce case. This was a reckoning. The charges Kody was confronted with several civil allegations. Financial betrayal, leverage shared family resources to pay for Robyn's lavish lifestyle. Custody abuse, preventing Christine from removing her youngest daughter out of state, emotional intimidation. Threatening Meri and Christine emotionally when being apart. Contract violation, redirecting business money from joint ventures into Robyn's online business. It was a courtroom founded on shattered trust, and it all began to fall apart the moment Christine spoke. Act 1. Christine's testimony. Christine stared directly at Kody. I spent 27 years creating a life with him, raising children, sharing food stamps, waiting my turn on the rotation schedule like I was a tenant, not a wife. She stopped. And I was fine with that, until he began to break the rules he made us live by. Her voice shook, but it didn't break. He said I wasn't submissive, that I was making his life more difficult. But what stung the most wasn't the betrayal. It was that he never expected I'd say something. The judge nodded. Let the record show that the witness feels coerced both emotionally and financially. Kody sat frozen, eyes vacant. No response. Act 2. Janelle breaks her silence. Up next was Janelle, who had long been the quiet one. She stood, fussed with her glasses, and spoke in an unwavering voice. I handled the finances. I maintained the budget. We had expense rules. Rules we all adhered to. With the exception of Kody. She put a folder on the evidence table. Those are bank statements. From our joint accounts. You'll notice that Kody took more than $168,000 from the family savings account and deposited into Robyn's business account for a year, without reporting it to anyone else. Gasp flowed from the gallery. Janelle went on. When my son had emergency surgery over the winter, Kody informed me that there wasn't sufficient in the family fund. He said we had to wait. Meanwhile, Robyn also brought in a second nanny. The judge scowled. And what was the reason for these transfers? Janelle replied with no flinch. Robyn was his legal wife. That was his rationale. Act 3. Meri's emotional bombshell. Meri stood next. I lingered longer than I should have, she said in a soft voice. Because I had faith in the covenant. I felt like we were creating something greater than ourselves. Then her expression shifted. Anger seeping in. But he used my faith against me. He warned me that if I ever left, I'd be cut off. No help, no money, no support for my daughter. Tears hung in the balance. She didn't blink them away. I lost everything trying to keep a family that was already gone. Christine took her hand. Meri continued. I began a bed and breakfast to earn my own living. Kody said he would invest. He invested the money and gave it to Robyn's boutique instead. The judge's eyebrow shot up. Is there evidence? Christine's attorney produced a contract signed by Kody. The judge read it, slowly. Act 4. The children speak. And then there was a voice the courtroom didn't anticipate. Gwendlyn Brown, now grown, requested to speak voluntarily. She came forward, voice quivering but firm. I saw my mom cry in a bathroom as Dad laughed downstairs with Robyn. That's my recollection of their marriage. There was silence. He quit attending our birthdays. He missed holidays. We were no longer his children. just leftovers from a life that no longer included him. And then she produced a flash drive. Here's video evidence that was sent on our family group chat. When Mom asked Kody if she could move to Utah with my little sister, he told her, "You move, you lose her." The courtroom hung in the balance. The judge inserted it into a laptop. The sound played. Kody's voice ricocheted off the room. "You move, you lose her. I'll fight for full custody and you'll never win." Christine turned away with her hand over her mouth. The judge appeared shocked. Act 5. Kody's defense cracks at last. Kody Brown appeared in court. The charming leader was gone. He seemed smaller, older. "I was attempting to do what was right for everybody," he murmured. "I've been pulled too many ways for too long." Christine's attorney appeared. "That's why you withdrew 3 joint accounts into your legal wife's business. Without disclosure, she needed assistance. Did your other wives not need assistance?" He didn't respond. The attorney pestered harder. "Did you? Or did you not tell Christine that she'd never see her daughter again if she left?" Kody fidgeted. "I was afraid." "Of what?" "Losing control." Kody didn't answer. Then came the coup de grace. An unaired sister wives clip subpoenaed by the plaintiffs. On camera, Kody tells a producer, "Christine always acted out. Meri was too emotional. Janelle just did her own thing. Robyn is the only one who respects me." The courtroom fell silent. Even Robyn appeared devastated. The verdict Judge Harris sighed, removing his glasses. "I don't often see cases where the law straddles so tightly with morality, but this is one of them." He turned to Kody. "You manipulated trust. You took advantage of emotional relationships. You abused shared finances. And you tried to intimidate others with custody threats." Then he mandated $450,000 in monetary restitution divided between Christine, Janelle, and Meri. Exclusive custody of Christine's youngest child awarded to her. A freeze on all remaining joint accounts. A public statement mandated on Kody that he admitted his wrongdoing. Kody said nothing. Christine, Meri, and Janelle hugged quietly. Outside the courtroom, reporters thronged. The headlines were already written. Kody Brown loses everything in court. Sister wives strike back and win. But for the women at the center of it all, it wasn't about headlines. It was about freedom. The silence that followed Christine's opening statement was shattered by the firm voice of her attorney, Evelyn Monroe, who rose and walked confidently to the center of the courtroom. "Your Honor," she started, speaking to Judge Harris, "what we are showing you today is a clear and unmistakable trail of betrayal. Not just personal, but financial and parental. Mr. Kody Brown didn't just fall short of his family, he manipulated, abandoned, and took advantage of them while cowering behind cameras and scripture." She picked up a fat tabbed binder and handed it over to the bailiff. "Exhibit A. A full audit of the shared family accounts. You'll see that over the course of 18 months, Mr. Brown transferred $178,000 into a separate business account, one that exclusively funded Robyn Brown's online boutique. None of the other wives had access. None were even informed." Gasps spread through the courtroom. Even Robyn looked rattled, her lips pressed tight. Evelyn continued, turning toward the gallery now, voice stronger. "Let's be clear. These aren't accusations made in the dark. These are numbers. Signed checks. Bank statements. Venmo transactions. Every transfer made while Christine struggled to feed her children. While Janelle borrowed money from friends to cover a medical emergency. While Meri's business was suffocating." She turned to face Kody. "And this man was filming scenes in a mansion with high-end furnishings. Paid for with their dreams." Kody leaned over and whispered something into his attorney's ear. His lawyer, Travis Hunt, nodded but remained seated. For now. The judge flipped through the folder slowly, carefully. When he looked up, his tone was colder. "These documents, are they verified by a third-party accountant?" Evelyn nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. Certified and signed." Judge Harris stared at Kody. "Mr. Brown, we'll hear your side, but this evidence speaks volumes." For a second, it seemed like Kody would burst. His mouth opened. His eyes blazed. But he restrained himself. This wasn't TV reality. This was a courtroom. Then Janelle stood up. She was calm, as she always is, but her hands were quivering slightly as she held up a page from the binder. Your Honor, this line here, she indicated, was a withdrawal of $8,400 termed Family Emergency Fund. The money, however, was not spent on any family member in need. It was used on a nanny and high-end decor for Robyn's house. She glared at the judge, then at Kody. When my son required emergency surgery, I called Kody. He told me, we have nothing left. We're just barely getting by. But that was a lie. She set the paper down. That's why I'm here. I want the truth revealed. The judge gestured to the record. Let the court recognize Mrs. Janelle Brown's testimony and validate the paperwork presented as Exhibit B. Then stood Meri. Her face was white, her voice raspy. I don't care about the money. I care about what it represents. She looked at the judge, yet her eyes were elsewhere, lost in the years she spent waiting for love. He said I didn't belong unless I demonstrated I was still committed to the family. I started my company to demonstrate to him that I was still able to contribute. I gave him $25,000 to assist with his new real estate business venture. He told us we'd all profit. She paused. Her lip trembled. I never saw that money again. But I did see Robyn's boutique open during that same month. Even Robyn now appeared uncomfortable. Kody's lawyer, Travis Hunt, finally rose to his feet. Your Honor, my client has committed no crime. This family was a unit. There were no signed contracts. No written contracts. We can't now act like this was a corporation. These were spiritual, personal relationships, not business ones. Judge Harris raised a hand. And yet money was transferred. Children were impacted. Houses were funded. If it quacks like a contract, Mr. Hunt, the room held its breath. Then this court will treat it like one. Hunt sat down, adjusting his tie. Christine leaned over to Janelle and whispered, he never thought we'd make it this far. Janelle responded, he never thought we'd stand up together. Then the judge spoke again. This court does not sit to criticize your beliefs, your marriages, or your past on TV. We sit to judge conduct, evidence, patterns. And so far, those patterns are seriously troubling. He addressed the bailiff. Bring in the next witness. Reporters scribbled furiously in the courtroom. Coming up next, Gwendlyn Brown. And from the way Christine clutched the edge of the table, you knew something big was about to happen next. The door to the courtroom creaked as the bailiff declared, calling Gwendlyn Brown to the stand. Whispers circulated in the gallery. Kody shifted restlessly. Christine breathed deeply, her knuckles white as she saw her daughter make her way slowly to the witness chair. Gwendlyn, now in her 20s, looked confident but composed. Her expression was serious. Too serious for someone so young. She took the oath and sat, locking eyes with the man she once called Dad. Christine's attorney, Evelyn Monroe, stepped forward. Gwendlyn, thank you for being here. Can you tell the court what it was like growing up in the Brown household? Gwen nodded curtly. Initially, it was like magic. Big family, lots of love, but it did not remain that way. She glanced straight at her father. The moment Robyn entered, everything changed. He altered. He went from our dad to Robyn's husband, and her kid's sole parent. Kody quivered but remained silent. Did you see anything that felt emotionally abusive? Yes, Gwen answered quietly. There were nights my mother wept alone in her bedroom, while Kody sat with Robyn, laughing in the downstairs living room. He ceased to appear, not only physically, but emotionally too. He'd ignore phone calls, miss birthdays. My little sister once stayed by the window all night waiting for him. He never arrived. And when my mother spoke of leaving, he said she'd never lay eyes on her daughter again. Christine wiped away tears with a tissue. Meri sat glancing at her lap, refusing to look at anyone. Did you actually hear him make the statement? Gwendlyn nodded. Yes. I taped it. Gasps were heard throughout the courtroom. The judge was taken aback. You taped the conversation? Yes, Your Honor, she replied, producing a small USB from her pocket. It was during a video call with my family. I put it on my laptop. It was intended to shield my mom in the event of something bad happening. The bailiff took the USB and passed it over to the court tech, who inserted it into the court monitor. The tape began to play. If you remove Truly from this state, Kody's voice growled through the speakers. You'll never see her again. I'll bury you in court so deep you'll forget her name. Christine turned away. Gwendlyn sat staring ahead. The room was stuck. Even Kody's attorney was shocked. She's my daughter too. Christine's voice in the clip answered. Calm but scared. She's mine. And you're not dragging her into your Utah dream fantasy. Kody barked back. Then silence. The judge paused the audio and looked directly at Kody. Is this your voice? Kody hesitated. It sounds like me. Is it you? Or is it not? Kody glanced at his lawyer before nodding. Yes. Then came the video clip. It was unaired footage, never seen on Sister Wives. Gwendlyn said it was filmed during a lull in production, caught on a spare GoPro camera by producers. On screen, Kody rants in the kitchen. Christine thinks she can just walk out and take my kids. If she does, she'll regret it. She needs to remember her place. She was never the wife I respected. The video cut off. The courtroom hummed with shock. The judge rapped his gavel. Order. Gwen's voice sounded again. Louder now. We weren't a family. We were a performance. And when the cameras stopped, so did Dad's love for anyone who wasn't Robyn. Christine's lawyer turned to the judge again. Your Honor, this is not a divorce case. This is a case of intentional psychological and economic warfare. This man employed his influence, his celebrity status, and his threats to control these women and their children. These clips are not individual episodes. They are patterns. The lawyer for Kody at last rose to his feet. His voice strained. Your Honor, my client was stressed out. These clips are taken out of context. He was overwhelmed, running several households. The judge cut in. Mr. Hunt, your client did not simply lose control once. He weaponized it. On his wife. On his daughter. On the very people this court is duty-bound to protect. Robyn slumped her head in the gallery, clearly shaken, and then the judge turned back to Gwendlyn. Miss Brown, thank you for having the courage to come forward. This court finds your testimony credible and powerful. Gwen rose, nodded once to her mom, and returned to her seat. Christine squeezed her hand as she went by. Janelle leaned forward and whispered. He won't be able to talk his way out of this anymore. Christine answered. Not when the truth is heard. Next up, Kody takes the stand. The judge summoned a brief recess. Reporters rushed to their phones. The gallery hummed. Kody Brown's time was near. The truth was out. Now it was his turn to tell it all. If he could. The courtroom fell quiet when the bailiff shouted. The defense may now call Mr. Kody Brown to the stand. Slowly, Kody rose to his feet, shoulders strained, tugging on the sleeves of his suit like a soldier readying for battle. But his expression said otherwise. He was drained, defeated, haunted. He swore and sat, eyes sweeping the room. His wives would not look at him. His daughters would not. His wives, both of them, seemed strangers. Only Robyn looked him in the eye. But she did not smile. Kody's attorney, Travis Hunt, stepped up to the stand. Mr. Brown, tell the court what was in your mind when you transferred money from the joint accounts. Kody cleared his throat. I wasn't stealing. I was weighing priorities. Robyn's business had the highest potential to earn money. I made a family decision. Christine's attorney jumped to her feet. The family, or your lawfully wedded wife? Judge Harris raised a hand. You'll have your say. Let the witness proceed. Kody went on, voice harder now. The family system was collapsing. Nobody was working together anymore. I was doing it all myself. Evelyn Monroe folded her arms. So you took $178,000 and handed it over to one wife without telling the others. Kody retorted. I didn't think I had to. None of them were contributing what Robyn was contributing. She's been faithful. She's worked. Gasps in the gallery. The judge inched closer. Loyalty is not a defense, Mr. Brown. Cross-examination started. Christine's attorney approached. Serene. Lethal, Mr. Brown. On the taped recording, you threatened to bury your ex-wife in court. That your idea of co-parenting? Kody blinked. It was a moment of passion. I didn't mean it. But you uttered it. Word for word. In front of your daughter. He remained silent. Now let's discuss the video clip. You had described Christine as never the wife you respected. Was that accurate? It was taken out of context. Kody maintained. So explain the context. What would be in context? So that you could say that about the mother of 6 of your children. His lips parted. No words emerged. The attorney did not relent. You say you're overwhelmed. While you found time to finance Robyn's boutique, sign off on her nanny hires, redecorate her house, and miss your other kids' birthdays. That isn't fair. Is it that you wouldn't go to your daughter Isabel's spinal surgery in New Jersey? Silence. Kody shifted. I was worried about COVID. But you were producing with Robyn that same week maskless. More silence. Then the KO. Christine's attorney turned to the screen. Let the court see one last clip. This was taken after Christine left. But before we sued. The screen flickered on. Kody addressing producers. Ranted she was never submissive. That's the issue with them. They want autonomy. That's not how it works. That's not what I enrolled in. On the video he laughed easily. Christine leaving. Good riddance. One less grumbler to cope with. The room fell into total silence. Even Robyn averted her eyes. Judge Harris spoke. Mr. Brown. Is this how you talk about the women you say you loved? Kody attempted. It was private. Off camera. The judge's voice sliced through like steel. You were still mic'd. You knew that. Kody said nothing. Christine whispered to Janelle. He's doing it to himself. Janelle nodded. He always does. The judge addressed Kody again. You've given this court every reason to believe that you prioritized one partner at the expense of others. That you used emotional threats and financial secrecy to control your family. Then leaning back. Voice low but firm. Mr. Brown. You did not just lose control of your household. You weaponized your power. And now you will answer for it. The room was stunned. Kody appeared like a man who had finally come to an understanding. This was not going to go away. Not this time. The room hummed with electricity of silence. Nobody budged. Not the press. Not the women who had once referred to Kody as husband. Not even Kody himself, whose eyes had finally fallen to the courtroom floor like a man preparing for impact. Judge Harris put down his pen, peered over the tops of his glasses and crossed his hands. The court has heard hours of testimony, reviewed mountains of evidence, and seen firsthand the emotional weight carried into this room by every plaintiff. What this court must now decide is not only what is fair, but what is just. He turned to the plaintiff's table. To Christine, Janelle, and Meri Brown. You have been courageous. You stood not only for yourselves, but for your children. For your right to dignity, fairness and truth. Christine's throat worked hard as she swallowed, her hand clutching Janelle's beneath the table. Their faces were immobile, but Meri's eyes were brimming with tears. And then Judge Harris addressed Kody. Mr. Brown. He started, his voice firm but biting. You did not lawfully marry all 4 women. But what you established was a system that economically and emotionally trapped them to you. You had the power. Until you abused it. Kody didn't glance up. You used common money without permission. You threatened to take custody to regulate movement. You emotionally coerced your partners while creating a facade of togetherness for public appearances. This court determines that pattern to be intentional and harmful. A beat of quiet. Thus the court holds as follows. Christine Brown. Awarded sole full legal and physical custody of her youngest child. Truly granted $200,000 in monetary restitution. For withheld money and coercion legal authorization to move unencumbered with her child Janelle Brown. Awarded $150,000 in damages for unauthorized fund withdrawals. And emotional distress. Judge recommendation for business shares jointly held to be dissolved. And divided equally. Meri Brown. Awarded $100,000 in restitution for investment stolen into Kody's business. Retains full ownership of her bed and breakfast, with no further assertion by Kody. Kody looked up just a little. But it wasn't defiance. It was shock. The walls he'd so painstakingly built over the years, with charm and control, had finally collapsed. Judge Harris continued. This court also orders a formal financial audit of all joint accounts. For 5 years. Any other proof of abuse will yield additional civil penalties. He added frostily. And Mr. Brown, this court suggests you pursue personal and family counseling, should there be anything left to mend. The courtroom was utterly silent. And then, slowly Christine turned to her daughter Gwendlyn, sitting quietly in the second row. She smiled. A soft, weary smile of release. Meri leaned over. It's over, she breathed. No, Christine said. It's only starting. Janelle nodded, a single tear dripping down her cheek. Now we rebuild, without him. Then something surprising occurred. Robyn stood up. Everyone's attention turned to her. She moved deliberately to the aisle, hesitated, then stared at Kody. Her voice was gentle, but each sentence was razor sharp. I stayed with you because I thought you were trying. But I saw you dismantle every woman who cared for you. And now I see you as you are. Kody whispered. Robyn. But she walked out and turned her back. Outside, the cameras rolled. Headlines were already live. Kody Brown loses big in court. Sister wives win justice. Christine granted full custody. Kody ordered to pay damages. Judge calls out polygamy power. Dynamics and shocking ruling. But for the women who walked out of that courtroom, Christine, Janelle, Meri, it wasn't about headlines anymore. It was about freedom. About finding their voice again. Of being aware that even the strongest will eventually topple when the truth finally finds its voice.